He's joined us on the line. Sir, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Omar, and good evening to your viewers and listeners.
Good evening to you. Jurisdiction is very critical in everything. The investigator have to be careful whether they have the right to investigate the matter in the manner that they have to do it based on their law. So the OSP is focused on corruption and corruption-related offenses. After 7 months or so of investigating Cecilia Dapaah, the OSP said to us that it was not within their jurisdiction. They forwarded that to the EOCO, saying that it was the jurisdiction of EOCO. EOCO writes to Attorney General. Attorney General replies and says, I do not think you should proceed. EOCO is sending that docket back to OSP, which has already said, I cannot investigate. Where are we going to see an end to this Cecilia Dapaah matter? Is that technically the end of it?
I think that between those that we have entrusted state resources to investigate such offenses or suspected crimes, between them, it's obvious that they've decided to put an end to the case. Now, as to whether or not they had a legal basis to do that, the Attorney General is the principal advisor to the government. So if the Attorney General says that there is no basis for you to proceed, is it to proceed to investigate or to proceed to prosecute? If he says that do not proceed to investigate, is it because you do not have the jurisdiction, that is the EOCO, to investigate, or for other reason which the Attorney General has the discretion to say do not investigate, or you have investigated, the outcome of your investigation does not warrant the state spending resources to prosecute because we think that it will result in a discharge and acquittal. I think that whatever the reason may be, they have taken a decision for lack of a better word, let sleeping dogs lie. But Omaru, it is matters like this that bring to fore the argument that we have to decouple the office of the Attorney General from the Ministry of Justice. And I think that this is one instance where the clamor for that decoupling should be made louder until those that are in the position to make this call come to life do. Because corruption and all those that are related to it, most of the time is a matter of perception. And it is in the interest of the person who has been accused. We say that he who asserts must prove. But if you've been accused and there's a process that would go through for a court of competent jurisdiction to declare you not guilty, at least for the record, it will silence everybody and everything that comes with it. And so if, for example, like I said, the Attorney General says that there is no basis for you to continue because, one, maybe it is outside your jurisdiction. That is fair. Or there's nothing to investigate, or your investigations will not lead to a committal. As it stands now, that docket can be reopened at any time by any other state entity that is empowered to do so. So I believe that the best approach would have been to put the accused person before court and let the evidence that the state has be presented. If she has any defenses, she may raise it if she has to. That is, if the burden of proof shifts to her. And let the court of competent jurisdiction come out with a conclusion so that every person who is interested in the case, in the name of anti-corruption, would see that, okay, at least there was finality to this. But as it stands now, we have an entity as competent, for lack of a better word, as the Office of the Special Prosecutor, doing preliminary investigations, laying charges against this accused person, bringing her before court on one leg, saying that there's an FBI report that seems to suggest that there has been money laundering, or as it were, or of related crimes. So I'm taking it to another state institution that I think has the jurisdiction to prosecute, and that state institution, on the advice of the Attorney General, decides to say that, listen, I cannot touch this. I don't think that it fits well into the perception and the corruption index. It is in the own interest of the state apparatus, and even the accused person, as it were, to have allowed this to proceed to court, and for courts to come out with whether you are guilty or not guilty. Then we know that there has been a final decision. Because as it stands now, at any other time, any other entity can come back to later and say that we have new evidence, or we didn't look at this evidence at that time when we gave our opinion. So we want to reopen the case and investigate.
Indeed, former President Mahama has said that if he becomes lucky on December 7 and becomes president, he will revisit the Cecilia Dapaah matter. However, we also do know that all prosecutions emanate from the Attorney General's department. Of course, the OSP now can go to court on its own. But again, we do know that a portion of the powers of the AG was hived off and given to the OSP. That's why they are doing the prosecution. EOCO can also go to court, but again, the powers are also coming from the AG, some of it taken from them. If the AG, being the principal legal advisor, looks through the documents and says to EOCO, I think this is a pointless or futile exercise, then there will really be no point going to court. OSP cannot go to court because already OSP has said that this is outside the jurisdiction or the mandate that it has by its law. EOCO says, I cannot proceed. At the end of the day, I'm not sure who can really go to court, because if AG advised that it's pointless, why would you go to court? Which institution should even bother itself going to court, knowing that it may be a hopeless case? Because the issue of burden of proof, you may not even be able to shift it on the lady.
Well, that is why I said that this current AG or this current office may not find it worthy to prosecute or to continue with the investigation. But it does not mean that the door to investigation or prosecution has been shut. As we say, crime does not expire. So if tomorrow there's another office or other officers who think that they have unearthed new evidence, or they didn't look at an evidence that they had in their possession, nothing stops them in law to reopen the investigation or decide to prosecute. So they can, even though it's an office, the opinion of the Office of the Attorney General is not a bar to future prosecution or future investigations.
Okay. Now, the state actors involved are all independent bodies, but we do know that all of them are appointed by one man currently. The current Attorney General appointed by Akufo-Addo, the current EOCO head appointed by Akufo-Addo, the current OSP appointed by Akufo-Addo. It is his government that is going to look bad or good, depends on how these issues pan out. Do you think, even though they are independent, he ought to intervene somewhat to bring some order or sanity in the space and insist that some prosecution of a kind be mounted? Or you think the buck stops with the investigative bodies, and if so far as they say they are not interested in prosecuting or they are not prosecuting, the matter dies?
Well, Mario, the question suggests that as it stands now, the president may have seen a problem with what has been said by the Attorney General or the EOCO office. Maybe he doesn't see anything wrong with what they are saying, and so he doesn't see a need to, as it were, like you said, intervene. But whether he should even intervene, I don't think. I believe I'm one of the proponents that say that we need to build strong institutions devoid of political interferences. And so if indeed the state apparatus as it is now is working in that state, I do not think that it should be in the interest of the president to personally intervene. But that is, if he thinks that when they are on political platforms, they make all forms of promise, like the former president had said, when he comes, he would direct the matter to be reinvestigated. And so perhaps in that context, if the sitting president thinks that this does not look good on his government, perhaps he could have taken the political decision to call them to say, listen, take the lady, the accused person to court, let the independence of the judiciary come to play, let them decide what they deem fit based on the evidence that we will put before them. So it's a political choice of the president to make.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.